Hello guys and welcome back to the F1 Tube YouTube channel and welcome to my Canadian Grand Prix race review, and what a controversial one it was as well. So let's dive in straight into my review. Mercedes won their 7th race of the season in the first 7 races after Lewis Hamilton controversially won the race in an epic battle with Sebastian Vettel, the driver in front. The German Sebastian Vettel received a 5-second time penalty for an incident I will elaborate my opinion on later. Hamilton took the victory. Bottas could only manage 4th after a bit of a scruffy race. He was stuck behind Hülkenberg for a while, and then in his second stint he was stuck behind Ricciardo for a while, and this has compounded what has been a very sloppy weekend from the Finn, and I said it in my qualifying review, it's these moments that will cost him the World Championship if he maintains this. I will quickly say Lewis Hamilton drove a brilliant race to keep Vettel under that amount of pressure and to force him into a mistake. Yes, he won the race controversially, but he drove so well, and that should not be taken away from him. The outcome of this race hurt Ferrari badly, and in particular Sebastian Vettel. His incident with Lewis Hamilton saw him lose 5 seconds worth of race time, and he finished P2 behind Hamilton. And although Ferrari can appeal this race victory, if you like, until the end of the season, I just think this one has hurt them a lot. On race day, that Ferrari just did not seem as quick as Lewis Hamilton. I'm not sure who made the difference, Hamilton or the Mercedes car, but as well as that, Leclerc struggled a bit. He was in no man's land. He wasn't vulnerable to Bottas, Verstappen or Ricciardo, but he was never really chasing after Vettel or Hamilton. Yes, he only finished 5 seconds behind Hamilton in the end, but he never looked like he was mounting a massive pressure on him. Red Bull didn't have the greatest of races. Max came home P5, a decent drive considering he started P9, but after his pit stop I think he turned the engine down a bit, realising he was never going to get P4, so I think it's a sensible decision. But Pierre Gasly had an absolute stinker. He wasn't aggressive enough in his overtaking, and he just had no pace, and he finished P8, but he really was dreadful. Qualifying presented a good opportunity for Gasly to finish inside the top 5, but his pace and his aggression was nowhere. What a weekend for Renault. Yes, it wasn't the P4 that they qualified in, but it's massive points for the team after a really slow start to the season. P6 for Ricciardo, P7 for Hülkenberg, 14 solid points for the team. I could not be happier for them. It seemed like when they pitted, they couldn't get the tyres up to scratch, but the pace was just there. Simply put it, Haas's weekend is what could have been if Magnussen hadn't crashed in Q2. Carlos Sainz had a decent race. He picked up damage early on, which meant he had to pit after having to remove debris from his car, and he committed to a 1-stop, and he did really well to fight back up into the top 10, but the grip was just not there in the end of the race when others who were on much fresher tyres could just easily breeze past him. And Lando Norris was out due to a really weird brake failure, melting his rear suspension. I've never seen an incident like that, but he was really unlucky. He was on for some solid points. I'm going to be honest here, Lance Stroll drove a phenomenal race. After starting really low on the grid, as he usually does, his first stint was so brilliant in terms of pace. He was just so comfortable out there, and when he had the fresher tyres in the second stint, he took that chance. P9, brilliant points. Sergio Perez couldn't make it count, but 2 points for Racing Points after a really dismal rest of the weekend. They've got to take it. After a great qualifying from Giovinazzi, he could never really get it together for the race. He scraped the wall of champions, then he spun, and Kimi Raikkonen was just nowhere the entire weekend. It was just a farcical event from Alfa Romeo. Alexander Albon picked up damage on lap 1, and his race never got any better, to be honest. He retired in the end, and to be honest, he was just irrelevant in the race. But Danny Kvyat, Mr. Consistent in the midfield this season, getting another points finish with P10, good job. And once again propping up the field, Williams, although it wasn't the last 2 cars finishing on Williams, George Russell, P16 with Kubica, P18, both drivers finishing. Good reliability in that Williams car, and Russell is really getting the best out of that car. I don't know how he's doing it. He's got some really good pace, and really he's just showing Kubica up and the drivers he is finishing ahead of. Now let's move on to that incident, which really decided the race. Obviously Vettel getting a 5-second time penalty after the incident, and let's just talk about what happened. On the entry into turn 3, Vettel got a kick of oversteer, which meant he had to go over the grass, but when he came back onto the track, the difference between grass and tarmac is so different that you just lose grip instantly. Vettel got another kick of oversteer, and the stewards deemed that to be an unsafe return to the track as it blocked Lewis Hamilton. Now, I do not think this was a penalty. I don't think this was such a controversial decision that it kills the sport. I'll be completely honest, Lewis Hamilton's penalty at Spa 2008 was way more farcical than this, end of. But that does not mean that this decision was right. Looking at it in detail, for me, for it to be a penalty, Vettel had to be really aggressive over the grass, just going flat out on it. But it just seemed to me that he was going so slow that even when he comes back onto the track, the grip levels just was not there. And when the car is out of Vettel's control, how can you punish the German? And you can't say that Vettel should have gone further to the left on the grass, because there is no boulevard to say you're meant to go to X place. It just isn't. There is at other chicanes, but at this very tight chicane, there wasn't. So that argument is really just non-existent. Now, I do need to quickly say, Hamilton was absolutely blameless in this incident. To be honest, if Hamilton didn't go onto the brakes, they would have crashed. But still, Vettel's car control was not down to him. It's just the fact he didn't have control, and he never was going to have control. And yes, I am going to say, Vettel's mistake on entry into the chicane did inflict this incident, but the penalty was unjustified. The only argument for me against the penalty is on this picture here. You can see here, Vettel is closing the gap on Lewis Hamilton, but he is not looking in front of him. He is looking at his mirror. That says to me he's either trying to get out of the way, or he's deliberately cutting across Hamilton so he stays ahead. But at this moment, is there even a gap? I mean, it's off the track anyway, it's off the white line, so really, no. So, in summary, do I think the decision was correct? No, I think it was a bit too harsh, but I don't think it was that controversial of a decision that people are anticipating. But quickly, in the next few days or even later today, I will be uploading a video suggesting why the Mercedes FIA conspiracy is absolute BS. Because quite simply, Hamilton has never had the decisions always with him, and Vettel sometimes has had the decisions with him. I'm just getting fed up about it, and I need to do a video about it. Obviously, Seb was apoplectic after the race, and he initially didn't go to the podium, and I can understand that. Though people are saying he was a crybaby, and I think BBC Sport, Michael Emmons doing the BBC Sport live page for the Canadian Grand Prix, was absolutely mental about it. I said it in my Lewis Hamilton video about the Monaco Grand Prix. F1 drivers are there to express themselves. Vettel expressed himself, and he did it in such a way which I think we can all relate to. When decisions like that seem so against you, you are just livid, and he was totally right to do it. It was comical, and although it wasn't necessarily right, it's great to see that he had that passion to express himself. And also fair play Lewis Hamilton with how he dealt with himself on the podium. He could have easily just slammed Vettel, but instead he invited him onto the top step of the podium. I mean, you can see the respect between the two. The official driver of the day was awarded to Sebastian Vettel, but I feel that that was more of a sympathy act more than anything. I don't think he was the best driver out there. Yes, he defended the lead on track, but I think that Lewis Hamilton actually drove better. He piled on the pressure, but my drive of the day has to go to Lance Stroll. His pace in that first stint was absolutely brilliant. He was firmly in the points, keeping Gasly well behind him. It was a stunning first stint, and in the second stint, as I said, he took his chance. For me, this is Lance Stroll's best drive since the Baku GP in 2017. He kept his cool at his home event. I think that was a stunning drive and a very underrated drive in my opinion. Obviously, there is still time for the race to be overturned, but at this present moment, Lewis Hamilton stands 29 points clear of Valtteri Bottas's teammates. I mean, this is the part of the season where Lewis needs to get his head down, make a massive gap between him and Valtteri, and really just make himself at home again, not have a teammate putting him under massive pressure. Vettel is third on 100 points with Verstappen still in fourth and Leclerc still in fifth. Gasly is just nowhere in P6. with Sainz in P7. Ricciardo jumps to P8 after a phenomenal weekend. Magnussen in P9 after a dismal weekend. And Perez is in P10. Despite having their worst weekend of the year, Mercedes extend their constructors' lead to well over 100 points. It's actually 123 points now. So just a marathon of a gap. Red Bull are just alone in third. McLaren and Renault are now really close after Renault's strong weekend. Then we have Racing Point, Toro Rosso, Haas are only 8th, Alfa Romeo only 9th, and Williams obviously prop up the field. But guys, that is it for today's video. Please like this video, comment down below what you thought of this video, and please tell me what you thought of the Vettel Hamilton instance, and please subscribe to the F1 Tube YouTube channel for more content like this. But until next time guys, see you later.